Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to 221B Baker Street by way of the Southgate Bridge. I am Sherlock Holmes. This is my colleague Dr. Watson. Actually, I am your host, Zachary Hare. And while she is not Watson, she is the Watson to my home, Kristen Deere.
Hi!
You did that on purpose.
What?
Nothing. Did you? That was great. You sound like a cartoon. Hi!
You cut out really bad there. I don't even know what you said.
That's probably for the best.
I was waiting to hear your reaction to that.
I was saying you're laughing. That's why I didn't hear my reaction to it. You sound like a cartoon
I was pulling a
character.
Sherlock, trying something new to see the reaction.
Oh, I do that all the time. Yes, as you can tell, we're very professional here at the Baker Street Podcast. Oh, boy. Okay. So anyways.
Still laughing about
We're talking about this. Well, I'm laughing about laugh. You know how it is. Anyone watch coupling, it's the giggle loop. We're talking about the season 3 episode.
Yeah, and
Hemlock.
I love the title. I don't have any clue what the title is until the end. Yes.
Which is interesting. And this is the first No Kitty episode that we've. So I don't think she's coming back this season. I think they're gonna. Well, I don't know if CBS. I should check that for next episode. Or seasons yet. I'm hoping. I just don't know
most
yet.
websites, or at least TV by the numbers. That's the one I know. That one, I think to be sure it'll get new. Because
it probably will.
I mean, next will be the 4th year.
The funny thing about this episode, we should probably. Does the Hemlock in a Sherlock Holmes episode, does it make you think of anything?
Yeah.
Come on, you can remember. Come on. Sherlock Hemlock.
Certain words and names.
No, Sherlock Hemlock, the Great Detective.
I can't
Sesame
connect
Street.
names and stuff. I'm bad at that.
But that was what they called them Sherlock Hemlock on Sesame Street.
Okay. I don't.
Kristen has blocked out her childhood listeners.
I don't know that.
You're at Sesame Street. What's the matter with you? Okay, so anyway,
I probably did, but I don't ever remember watching Sesame Street. I don't. I'm not sure I did actually watch it. I watched. My mother raised me on Twilight Zone. Okay.
Oh my God.
I watched sci-fi from the time I was a little kid, except for Roadrunner and Tom and Jerry. Those are the cartoons I remember.
And the listeners, who and why Kristen would put up with us being my co-host, just figured out why. Okay, so we get into the show. Sherlock is trying to pass the time. He's looking into the Black Dahlia. And apparently Sherlock knows who's Jack the Ripper is, so he's not willing to share.
Well, I like his version of a dumb blonde, you know? For him, it's someone who's kind of smart, but extraordinarily gorgeous with, and I like the way she, looked at him. Oh, with tattoos, of course.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's right. We should probably mention the fact that Sherlock, oh my God, after this opening scene. I love it. And it's a true to the character. He enjoyed to do it, but he's still in the afterglow. He's still looking at he's not even looking at current case. He's in a 3-way.
I know. I love how they kind of surprise you with that one, The surprise third person pops up.
Yes, and that was. He's like, I love how they did it was particularly good. She's like, "Don't you have an opinion?" He's like, "How about you?" And she gets up. How about something other than?
But I like how she was kind of, she was a moderate intelligence. She wasn't dumb. It was like his version of a dumb blonde, you know?
Oh, I see what you mean now. Yes.
He's so far ahead of her,
I'm like
but she's not.
Well, everyone he hooks up with, even if they're gorgeous, has something interesting about them. Intelligence or skill. Everyone he sleeps with, probably someone cool or something like he's obviously seen from his hookup. Now, I think, I know it's weird, but I think it's so he could, because Sherlock Holmes, as even this version, is the kind of person that could do an activity, brain thinks about something else. So that could be it. It's like, he wants to be, his body will enjoy the woman. Oh, I wonder what she thinks about this.
Yeah.
Anyone who has ADHD knows that's the worst. It's have that kind of control, because that's the worst thing when you're like kissing a girl and your mind goes, "Did I remember to get milk?"
But I love the way she's looking at him. He was talking and she's looking at him like, okay.
I'm like, why aren't we having sex? Now this next scene is interesting. Where now, if any of our listeners know, I would really like to find out. I mean, I should have tweeted the writers about this, but I mean, I wanted to curious if they're playing a specific style or whatever, because it looked like I don't know if the pieces were just ornate or something. But I like when he's talking to the guys. He's doing this bookcase, and the guy goes, "Are you lonely?"
Yeah, I mean, well, I like the whole. Oh, you know what? Someone on Twitter mentioned that he destroyed the language, whatever it was.
Well, they always say that when a character does another voice. I remember did you ever Leverage?
No.
There was one of the characters was the grifter. So almost every episode she had to do a different accent.
Yeah.
And people would be like, "Oh, that sounds terrible. That sounds like she's never heard it before." And everyone who was actually from the place she was doing was spot on. She sounds like she's my sister or something. And I love how that happens. Like, people who have nothing to do with the thing will be like, "That sounds terrible." And then people who know about it will be like, "Yeah, it's good." I've seen that happen so many times.
You know, I did watch one episode of that. But, yeah, anyway. I didn't like it.
That's the end of the point. So that's okay. Well, if you started on the wrong one, that can do it. But anyways.
I started on the first one.
So,
yeah.
Really? Well, it's not for everyone, I guess. So, yeah. Well, you gotta admit, we don't know how long Johnny. I think it sounded like it was really him doing the voice, but we don't know how long to prepare for it. I mean, being an actor, it literally could be a week before. It could be a couple days before film. They plop the script in front of him and say, "Oh, you're saying these lines in Hindu." That can happen. It really can. There have been, in TV, it can be so last second that the person has to hold behind the camera so the person can do the lines. Things get changed that last minute. So who knows? But I obviously I'm not Hindu, so I don't know if
it actually wouldn't matter. It's not like he was supposed to be, it's not like he was pretending to be someone who would.
Right. I reminded of something now. This is probably on the Flash Arrow podcast. Shameless plug. But I remember one episode of Arrow where he spoke to a Chinese man, and the Chinese guy said when he was captured, "Who was it? Oh, I don't know. I didn't see the man, but he must have been Asian with that accent." It's like, I mean, come on, who would stalk like that? But anyways, we are digressing so much. And we have here
the a woman now. Of boredom scenarios, especially the dummy.
Yeah. He's sick of people calling that so he talks to a single stick dummy. So a woman shows up to this door, and I like that when she called him a P. I'm surprised he didn't correct her on being a PI.
Right, the first time. But I love the way he stares at her while she's talking. The way he stares at her is hilarious.
And the reason he has to correct because he's so bored.
And I love how he insults her right before taking her case.
Yeah. Well, the way he kind of insults her as he's taking her case. Now, what I particularly, because this is very Holmes-like. Someone coming to him with a frivolous thing.
Right.
And he takes it because the case that keeps ringing in my head is Blue Carbuncle. That's the one where he gets brought a goose hat from policeman scuffle in the street, and he's like, "Oh," and I think I would find a way to return it, and the cop gets it, but then it turned out to lead to an even bigger case. It's very Holmes-like, but you're right. It's like I should have written down but he's saying something
something about he doesn't care about it.
Bourgeois.
Or something.
Does they say bourgeois? Wait, is it bourgeois or bourgeois? What word he uses?
I don't.
I'm blank. He said it a very specific way. But yeah, and she's saying, I'm gonna correct myself next week because this is gonna bug me. So he's saying how I have no time for such things. Blah 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 blah. It's like, well, she starts getting, but you have caught me at a really doing more. So I'll take the case pretty much out of boredom.
It's so funny how when she explained a little more and that he'd been missing 48 hours. He actually gets a little bit. He seems a little bit excited, like, oh, maybe this is actually something. Right. He's been gone. He's missing. Like, oh, that's great.
You know, this is the second episode that reminded me of Man with Twisted Lip, because I thought right when she said that, I thought that gonna be that story, because in that one comes to Sherlock, the wife comes to Sherlock Holmes. My husband is missing, right. And I just want to see. I want to see a couple more. We got Pips at the beginning of the season, but I want to see more story-inspired Holmes.
Why
in this.
Like?
I love what she's like. Yeah, I love what she says. Dorchester Reed. It's like, The funny thing is, him Holmes, I could fully believe that he knows exactly who Dorchester Reed is. He just didn't want her to know, because he knew she was trying to say, it's Dorchester Reed, my husband is a lawyer there, and he knew who they were, but he did the expression like.
Well, also she was acting a little. I don't know. I think he wanted to knock her down a peg, maybe.
Oh yes. So he takes the case and he goes. And I love he's like, imagine the hubris to pose for an oil painting in this day and age.
Yeah.
And Watson's, and turns out Andrew's back in town. Yay!
Yeah. And how?
I love this scene because I'd even have to be Holmes to see that she was bull blanking herself when she's like, I'm therapy. It's like, wow. It'd be funny if she kind of does say that later on, but it's like, I could totally see her saying, wow, I didn't even believe that one. But like you're right, he notices that there's less tension in her walk.
But I love the look on his face at the prospect that Watson has taken another lover,
Well, he wants her to be the real, and I'll save that one. So they find out. Although here's what's interesting. I understand the secretary, but you would think the secretary would say, "Oh, he hasn't worked here for 6 months." No, they outright say, "Oh, no one by that works here." And then they find out from the guy walks out, says he stopped working 6 months ago, pretty much. And the guy acts like says, "Oh, these hours aren't billed. Bye." And it's like, nice chap.
It's not billable. Bye.
Oh, he just outright says it. Doesn't make an excuse. So all the thoughts, and the person answering it still says, yes, Dorchester Reed. So Holmes that's the person's calling from that build. So they find a secretary. I love how he does. I love how he says, your spatial. I should have written this down for a quote. If your spatial awareness was anywhere, I was standing right behind you.
And then I love his really just snarky sarcasm in this episode, and how he's like making fun of that girl without her even realizing it.
Yeah. So we find out that after he was fired, he hired her to keep pretending that he was a lawyer there, because obviously being connected in that name holds a lot of clout.
Oh, and I love this receptionist too. So the expressions on her face. She's hilarious. And her voice, at first, her voice reminded me of Rose from 2.5 Men.
I was thinking she, as much as I hate that show.
I do now.
But let's not get into that, because that's a whole debate right there. But yeah, it did kind of remind me of her. I do agree with that. That's like kind of the soft with a little bit of an edge to it.
Yeah. And she kind of looks a little similar. Not really. It's mostly her voice, though.
Yeah. Well, when the voice looks similar, that can make the features even more. So she needs to tell them that not only did he hired to pretend to be a secretary, that he paid her in cash, which was kind of odd. And we find out how was he able to trick the wife? They're not that connected.
Yeah.
Which is believable. We've already met the wife, and then he checks the envelope, and once again he randomly licks something.
This one was much more disgusting than some of the others. I think this is the most disgusting.
I'm not saying it has to be this. Or it even has to be Sherlock. One of the people work. I just want someone either to copy him or on another show. Because I saw a preview for a cop show that's coming up, and the guy does the licking thing. I want to see one show where the guy does the licking thing and something bad happens to him. Because you're licking. I'm not a germ. I'm pretty sure that should give you freaking, E. coli or something.
It was pretty gross. I mean, he's like basically stuck it in his mouth and like sucked on it to get the taste off.
Twice.
It was so gross. And the look on her face when he gave it back to her. That was so funny. And how the hell does he know what Salvadoran horchata? How does he always know what it is?
I don't know, but it sounds good.
Well, I've heard of horchata. How does he know it's Salvadoran and how?
He says actually how because of the tomatoes or leaves or something.
How has he tasted all of these things that he always knows what it is?
Well, to tell you the truth, as we know from even the original stories, he tattoos and tobacco. When you think about it, it's completely believable that Sherlock would, if he knew he was living in New York, would go around to every ethnic food place and eat there just so he could know the.
How would he have time in his life to study all these different things and know them so well? How could one person have enough time in their life to do that?
I do not know. Oh, he had it all delivered. He had it all delivered to his house.
And solving crimes at the same time. Anyway.
Well, that's it. He had a little takeout thing, and as he's deducing, well, you see the murderer. Well, that's good. And then he took the knife and
Anyway.
Yes. So, I like how he says, like, you can go back to dishonesty and greed or whatever. And they go to this. I love his description of this. But first, I like Watson's suggestions.
Yes,
for roommates.
The mentions of Miss Hudson and the nose. Yeah, the whole idea of them moving in. You get this immediate picture in your mind of what that would look like.
Yeah, I love how it turns out the nose is rich.
Yeah.
And let's get Mrs. Hudson at the brownstone. I'm still standing by my belief. The reason we haven't seen her is because I'm not saying the writers, because they wouldn't be that type. I'm saying the network is giving a regular character.
I don't know.
It's weird to me how they barely shown her.
But they have shown her, so
barely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's weird.
Well, we'll see. I don't know.
I'm saying anyone with the show is doing it. I'm saying that happens all the time. Like, stupid things they don't want people to have because they think it will. And it's also so I can also believe it on that note, too. So, let's see. Oh, yeah. And then can you believe Mason and living it? It's like, forget that. But,
Are you talking about. Wait, what part were you talking about?
I'm still talking about roommates.
Okay. You were talking about Belle?
No, Mason.
I didn't hear what you said. You cut out for a second.
Oh, Belle. Oh, but that was great when he's like, I'm not being. He's like, I didn't ask you to. We get another little Belle Holmes quip here.
Yeah, I love how they always, go at each other just slightly, And I like his, kind of, just the way he kind of side-eyes Belle. And yeah. Belle's not even looking at him, but he can feel him looking at him,
Yeah.
He knows.
And so they find a place. It turns out he has a little office. So all phones there, but there's also blood and broken glass. And then they find brain matter. See, blood, you might still like. Brain matter usually means death.
Yep.
So they bring it back. It turns out it is his. Well, first I like when Watson's pretty much she's ripping Holmes. Like, listen, if you want me to come hang out with you, I will.
I like how Sherlock repeats that hang out. I don't hang out.
Yeah. And so they're talking about trying to figure out who did the deed. And he's asked about the wife. He's like, I doubt the wife would have if she was the one who had done it. So they're gonna look into some more. And then we get Watson being the happy homemaker.
By the way, the whole with Belle thing, that totally got my imagination going again. What would that look like?
Oh, God.
That would be funny.
And I have to mention, we get another one of Sherlock's murder compliments to
Oh,
Watson.
yes. And he uses the word brain, and they found brain matter. She
Right.
could brain a man.
Well, that's an old. I've heard that word before.
Yeah, me too. But that's funny. And then her response, kind of half sarcastic, but knowing it's a real compliment coming from him, you know.
So we back at the brownstone, we find out. Well, sorry. First, we get Wappy Homemaker.
Yes. It
And,
seems like Andrew doesn't seem to pick up on Joan's facial hints that she may not be.
If you could even call them hints.
Yeah.
I mean, he might as well be looking in the other direction when she's making those faces.
Yeah, from almost the beginning, she always seems bored at anything that he says, and he never seems to pick up on it. He's just like, oh, all happy.
Well, it's funny because I thought of this when they did the whole previously. Look at it when she says, "I've never been to Copenhagen." I'm like, oh, that's nice. She wants to go with him. But then I look back and I realize she sounds so unexcited about that. When you really look, it's like, "Ever been to Copenhagen?" It's like, that's how you force yourself. It's like, oh, I'm going to the dentist.
Yeah, everything about that. That's why when that scene came on, the first time, I thought, maybe she wasn't like, it seemed like her acting was off or something. But now I get it that it wasn't. Of course, it wasn't the acting, because that they always kind of plan this stuff out with the characters. They plan the characters so well. There's always got to be something. I should have thought of it back then. But instead, I was looking in the wrong direction. I was thinking, why does this seem off?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, but it's weird when you look back on something, you can get a different perspective on it.
Yeah.
So they find out that that Stephen Horowitz is a debt collector, one of those people where if you have debt that goes on too long, the company will sell it to another company.
Yes.
And that they don't have one suspect, they have about 1,000.
Yeah, and the look on Joan's face when she's looking at that board. What? Thousands? She's looking kind of overwhelmed there.
But obviously it's far more likely it was someone who killed them that lived nearby, so using that to whittle down the suspect pool, and it leads them to someone who he contacted with, Pena, who has a record. So they interview him, and this actor, who's a scumbag every freaking role he ever plays.
Yeah, and he was very odd though. He was all relaxed and smooth.
Well, he didn't do anything.
Oh.
See, that's how experienced, smart career criminal acts. It's like, you don't do anything. You don't talk to the cops like, you can't prove nothing, copper.
Well, no, but it was the way he was relaxed and smooth. I mean, he was like, kind of like almost laying back in his chair, but he was such a smooth talker in such a weird kind of way, like, oh, yes, what do you think? Like, it's just like weird. Who talks that way?
Apparently him.
Oh, and until he gets caught. Well, for a split second, his face changed when he got caught by the voice of God. It seemed, Sherlock over the speaker.
Oh, before we talk about it, I got to talk about there's a little thing of them talking about the dinner with the father.
Oh yeah.
They're talking about it. It's like she looks petrified. You look like Sherlock is like completely, his face is all like, I'm not believing a word you say.
And she was so, and the way she specifically stressed the words "thank God" to get out when she was getting out of the conversation.
Which is funny because mirrors the scene earlier.
Sherlock said, "Thank God."
Right.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yes, and like you said, we have our charismatic scumbag here.
Yeah, oddly, I don't know if you'd call it charismatic.
Well, it sounded
weird.
like you were like, sounded like he was having an effect on you.
He was kind of creepy, He was like, the way he spoke, it seemed really just not right. It was really off, kind of off-putting. I don't know.
Well, you're really focused the way he.
I did not like that guy.
He's probably calm. He's sitting on like millions of dollars. He thinks he's gonna collect on that.
Oh, my.
I do. Yeah, I do like how we get the, like you said, the voice of God telling him he's
Yeah.
lying, and the guy actually looks. What? Who is that?
And we,
I love how, and I love how Belle and Gregson don't even don't even react. They just
Yeah.
continue.
they're so used to it. They're used to him. But they don't
Well,
really show him after that. But basically, we find later that he's basically stole from wife, because that those papers are supposed to go to the wife. He stole the list.
Yeah. But I like, so they make, obviously they get from him. They start investigating, and Sherlock is going through which people would be most like around the time that he shut down shop, because obviously there's got to be a connection. And they find someone, and they drive. He said there's like $20 million in debt, but they use his, it's hard to cut through it. They use his Easy Pass stuff
Right.
to figure out who it most likely. So it brings them to a. I love their faces when this happens, because they open the doors like, we speak to da da da, and he's like, well, if you wait a few minutes, sure. And the guy's like, he had what, emphysema, I believe it was.
Actually, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, whatever it was, I'm pretty sure it was emphysema, but he was in bedridden, and they're like, oh, and Sherlock even says, I severely doubt and bludgeoned anyone.
And he said it right in front of the aunt, and the way she just kept talking like.
I know. I love how she doesn't react
doesn't
to
react
anything they say. But what's weird part is when they start talking about the other guy, about Hope, she's like, oh yes, nice man, and they're like, what? Like, he brought us gross. He's like, but he came to collect money. Yeah, the first time, and then seeing that it turns out Horowitz isn't completely bad.
It was weird how she talked to them as if they already knew, even though they were clearly surprised.
Right.
She's like, oh yeah, that's a nice guy.
So yeah, and so then they realized maybe it was a different reason that he was killed.
Right, killed for the opposite reason.
Right, which I like, and I sort of reverse it. I know this is a completely weird thing to notice, but when they are at the house and standing in front of the window, it looks like a.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
No, it's just I don't know if it's a set or if it's actually outside somewhere in New York, but it's just so picturesque with the snow and the thing. It looked like a Kincaid painting or something. Kincaid. It's just something. It's one of those things I noticed. But so they start looking at like who would want to kill him after he grew. And
I like when they're talking to Gregson and Bell about it, and it's like they need analogies. Gregson. Okay, so he's like Robin Hood, and Bell, and then that's not quite right. So Bell hits it on the nail. Oh, it's Grinch giving back Christmas. Oh yeah, that's better.
No, it's funny. I was thinking that before he said it.
It's like a game, Oh, who can get the right analogy?
Oh my God, know what that's like? It's like Avengers.
Like what?
You remember that scene in the Avengers movie where they're talking about Loki? And like they're saying stuff, and obviously Cap doesn't get half their references or what they're talking about. And then someone says flying monkeys, and Thor is from another. I don't get that. And Captain America, who's seen Wizard of Oz, goes, "I do. I got that reference." Made me think of that.
You know what? I've seen it, and I can't remember any of it. What you're talking about. Some of these movies, I see them and I forget them like a second after they're over.
Well, you remember anything we talk about, too. You don't remember Farscape. You don't remember Sesame Street.
I loved Farscape, and I can't remember any of it. I can remember, Twilight Zone, because I've seen every single one of them like a million times.
Oh, we should talk about my favorite episode after we're done recording. But in case you don't remember, this is the Baker Street Podcast, Kristen. You're with me. Everything is okay. You're among friends. And speaking of which, if any of our friends and listeners would like to contact, and again, remind Kristen of where she is, you can contact us at Gmail at bakerstreetpodcast@gmail.com, Street Podcast on Facebook, and of course, Baker Street Pod on Twitter. Of course, if you want to Twitter either of us, or what is a good way? Is there a way to get in touch with you, Kristen, on Twitter?
Kristenhead.
There you go. And me is Wolfspear00, or search for Inch from Insane. You should check my
Kristen. Because I'm a 10, not made of tin.
And did all that without ever watching Sesame Street. And please check out my Twitter. I got some great pictures of me at TempleCon over the weekend. Some great costumes. I'd like to thank everyone. I had a fantastic time. So
We're still in the
yes,
middle of this. Come on.
Hey! I can't go on a tangent. It's not the big podcast, all right? Okay. Oh, fine. What scene? Then fine. If you know everything, then what do you want to talk about next?
So, the initial investors were
Yes, the
very
scum of the
bad
earth.
people. But what kind of a dummy would make that deal with horrible people?
But well, he's not so much of a dummy when you think about it, because Sherlock says
Yeah.
he paid them. I mean, he was smart. I mean, he became a do-gooder, but he still was.
But what if he had realized that he didn't want to collect the debt before, or what if he just couldn't manage it? I mean, he'd get killed or hurt very badly. It's just not a good idea to do business with bad people.
Obviously, he's dead.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Of course, it was, from a completely different direction. But I still, it's still because he was involved with various bad people in general, but actually, well, never mind. Okay, so yeah. And then we get to meet Raj's papa, who shares a papa.
Don't forget that great line, no one here you would invite to high tea.
Yes, no.
And he calls them blackguards and highwaymen.
All good lines right there.
Oh, yes, we get this guy who is a pretty well. I think he's pretty well known, like a character actor, because he probably looks familiar.
He's everyone's Indian papa.
Well, actually, not. He's one of the Indian. There's that other actor that's also everyone's Indian
You're
papa.
right. Okay, so he's
although he is
half of everyone.
I can't believe I just realized this. This is the same channel as Big Bang Theory. That's Raj's dad.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
You didn't say Raj, did you?
At first, I said Raj's dad, and then you went back and talked about something else, and then.
Oh, I thought you said Andrew's dad. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I think he said Andrew. You'd say, but whatever. Yeah, him and the other actor, who's pretty much one of those guys. Hey, whenever we need a Hindu actor, let's call one of these two guys, and they're both very good, very.
Yeah. And
of course, and surprisingly, he is. I want to know where that freaking restaurant is, because that still seats are amazing. But he's completely nice and welcoming and accepting, and he loves her, and he's nice to his son.
Yeah.
And Sherlock, I hate when you're right.
But it's so funny to see Joan talking fast and being nervous, And then that punch was was fun.
Oh, I love how I'm going to punch you. He lets her, and he just turns and goes. Oh.
Like, what?
I bet Lucy Liu could punch too.
And I love that she hates when Sherlock is right when he's right about her. That's what.
Now this, yes, I see exactly what you mean. And this is where something I almost brought up earlier. They could use this as a very unique opportunity, because except maybe certain cable shows, as network TV, you almost never see women in, you might call, eclectic relationships. Yeah. Like, there's this big misconception, especially in American society. Like, if a man and a woman, the man's a stud, the woman's a slut.
Equality for women on TV, woo!
This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying they got to make her wild or promiscuous. I'm just saying it'd be interesting to give her an eclectic, something that really is normal. A lot more people do it than care to admit, but of course it's perception of what's normal.
But they have to do it in a way that people won't start calling her a slut, so that we know she's this really very capable woman, and it doesn't get in the way of she doesn't become a mess. They better not make her a mess about it. Like if she.
I'm hoping. I don't think the writer. That's not the writers of this show's style.
Yeah. Well,
if they.
I don't think they would, but they better not.
They keep bringing. It's leading to something. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll find out this season.
Oh, and I gotta mention, I love Sherlock's little smirk about being right. She says, "I hate when you're right," and
the way
he gives this little smirk. Did you notice that? She tried to hide it a little. Well, actually, I guess it wasn't that secret. I mean, it was really obvious.
Yes, and so, but before we talk about anything else in the case, we have to talk about Clyde painting.
Clydesdale.
Still.
Oh, it's a little nickname.
Why is he Clydesdale?
I don't know. He's walking around on the floor.
Yeah, because turtles never do that.
Painting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Walking on painting like a Clydesdale. Yes, I see where you're
I
going.
don't know. That's the first time I ever called him that. I don't know, because it was like a fancier way to say Clyde, and I thought, oh, Clydesdale. Never mind.
How much? Clyde is a pretty upper class. I don't think we need to add to the.
Oh, come on! I just said it
Clyde?
because it just came out of my face.
I think we have another thing you wish you could forget very quickly.
Stop it.
Okay. Oh.
He's such a quirky little turtle with a great personality. Yes, he loves to paint.
And his Twitter feed is hilarious.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Been trying to get him on the show, but he's such a diva. Come on. He literally said, no, I can't come on.
And I also like the way Sherlock has him painting while he's waiting to be humiliated. You know? It means that Clyde must entertain him like a puppet.
Well, I like how he says Clyde. I know it's funny. I can almost believe a turtle, because turtles surprise people with what they enjoy. Because I could believe a turtle would somehow like that. I've seen videos of turtles dancing and being tickled. It's like, okay, turtles are a very surprising creature.
I love turtles. They're awesome.
Oh yeah, very much so. And so like you said, he's waiting to be by everyone.
Yes.
I like how he's like, oh, now obviously everyone thinks, oh, he can never get this.
Right.
And it's a super warming, so they could recall back to Phil Sims.
But I thought it was I feel a little cheated, especially since they said, this is the most fiendish, and then, oh, it's a Super Bowl ring. What? Come on. If it's going to be the most fiendish, it has to actually be something that is imaginative, Something entertaining mind candy, like it usually is. They had other entertaining mind candy in this episode with, all the ideas of who could stay at Sherlock's place. And, that was making me think, like, what would it be like with each of the, with the Nose or with Miss Hudson or Belle?
I want to know what he did because obviously he got the ring.
Oh, right. He said, Phil Sims owes him big time. So that is one thing. I guess that's a little bit of mind candy, but I just don't care about football at all, so I don't know. Or whatever game it is that they're talking about.
It's football. Okay. I'm sports, but I'm pretty sure I know enough to know the Super Bowl is football.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Wow. So anyways, back to the case. They find out that, because obviously, like Sherlock says, there are people who are closer who owed more money, so why do you focus on that one man? So they find out that he's trying to start a resort, and the investment firm connected to it, so they go to the firm, and they're like, one of you could be a killer.
Right, Stern.
But then Sherlock decides...
Or J. Stern Investments.
Yes, and then Sherlock decides, oh, wait, I'm mistaken, none of you are a killer, I'm gonna go. Oh, by the way, one of you likes to be...
I love that little addition of information there. Oh, wait, we forgot to mention that he woke Joan with clothing and food.
Yes.
And he seemed so proud that he picked everything out and he got it right. And that she was surprised. Oh, this is actually really nice.
She gave her a nice awakening.
It's like he's trying to convince her so hard without asking her to move in.
Yep. So I like how they go to once Sherlock sees the card, obviously realizes the Marine represent him. He goes back to the firm and he's like, no, I'm just here to look at the painting.
You know what? I noticed like 3 times, well, at least twice, I think it was 3 times, where Sherlock gets a piece of information and then he travels somewhere with Joan. And there was even one part where he mentioned there's going to be plenty of time on the way to talk about something. But then he never says anything to her. She finds out at the destination.
Well, that happens a lot too. Like for some reason, obviously they traveled, but
yeah. Well, usually I can let it go, but there was a scene in this episode where he says, "Oh, there's going to be plenty of time on the ride," And then it's like they didn't talk about anything.
I like how the guy's like, "Why are you looking at my painting?" And then they steal the painting.
Right.
Can someone tell me how he got out of the building with that?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering the same thing. Although that one person kind of left them alone to look at the paintings, remember?
Yeah, but still, he made his way out of a...
Isn't it near the front, though? Well, I don't know. I guess...
Was it? I
Yes,
think
we are.
this,
It's a show. It's a TV show.
Yeah. How, if he had just... and although it is the painting that helps them solve the case.
Yeah.
Because, and if the guy just bought a new pair of the same pair he had, she probably would have figured it out.
Right, but it's weird that Sherlock didn't catch that. It was kind of an obvious change. I mean, he always wears those same glasses, and then all of a sudden he's not.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they gave it to Watson, but it really is something Holmes would have figured out. Oh, but I do like how when it's like they stole a paint. And if he was really that, and actually when you think about it, that could be another hint that he's a killer, because they steal a painting, he doesn't immediately call the cops on them.
Well, but I love, I love Gregson's reaction when he says he stole the payment, about the theft, and Gregson's like, yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, we'll get right on that. And obviously, they confront him with all the information. Of course, it's the standard. You did it. No, did it. Oh, here's the evidence that proves you did it. Oh,
yeah.
No. And then it turns out as they reconstitute it.
It was a little too standard right there.
Yeah, it really was. But so they get him, and obviously it goes back to we're back to Joan and Andrew.
Well, first there's the wife.
Oh, of course.
Right, and I was so glad. I was rooting for the wife to not take her, quote unquote property. It was like a test for her, and
so that is what they were. That is what was happening. They were destroying the files.
Sherlock is very good at shaming people, but it looked genuine. She seemed sick to lose her husband over all this. She just seemed sick about losing him. So, I thought they did that well, and it was nice to see it all get shredded.
Yeah, I'm curious how this guy was able to take Stephen Horitz's body out of the, no one. I like how no one notices. One guy was able to take the body out or whatever.
Yeah.
But the wife, she sees I think it's the awakening that the reason the husband was doing it was to keep her in her lifestyle. That could be that woke her up. But like you said, we have I believe we have Watson and Andrew.
And someone in a blue jacket definitely bumped into her. But she seemed really involved on her cell phone, whoever it was. But
yes, I didn't connect that before. But yeah, I think that was kind of weird how she almost.
Yeah, it was kind of. I mean, it was very specific. Very, one of those moments that stand out. It's like, oh, what was that about?
Yeah. So and Andrew, after having it spelled out for him, finally figured that Joan may not be happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we never really get to know him, but he was definitely just a plot device.
Now, well, it's a lot like the original wife in the books. We get her mentioned once.
But now there's a reason for her to move into the brownstone.
Yeah. Okay, now I know him because like I said, I don't like watching Next Time On, so I don't. Now is he dead?
I don't know. They didn't show.
Okay, I wasn't. We'll find out next episode, I guess. Yeah, I'm looking at the scene right now, and the person bumping into her will be the poisoner.
Yeah, it seems like that. Although she was kind of looking down at the coffee to avoid spilling, but I don't know. It could be that, or they could twist it around, and it could be the person at the counter. Who knows?
I like how
But it sucks. It's right after she began the breakup scene.
I know. And I love he almost drinks his.
Yeah, and I mean, he kind of saved her life in a way.
And Hemlock, I mean, I'm guessing because that's the name of the episode, that's what it was with, but it's such a weird choice.
Yeah. I mean, they could have, now she has a reason to move out, but she could have done that without killing him, But obviously, now they have a reason for her to worry.
I always laugh when I think about stuff because it's like, I think a lot of people, to go on a little bit of a personal tangent, I think a lot of people would be more happy if they opened themselves up to more eclectic ideas. But they were, because of society, they don't allow themselves to even consider it. And like someone like, obviously she likes Andrew, she just doesn't want the settle down thing. So imagine Watson having like an open relationship.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think usually, I think it's different for different people. Some people.
This is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. She just could be that kind of person, and I like that they would go in that direction so that she could be different from everyone else on TV,
Exactly. Well, people are only just now allowing stuff like that on TV, even though it's so common. It's saying, like, people say, oh, that no one does it. A lot of people do it.
Yeah.
I know. I have friends in those kind of relationships, and they're very happy.
Well, as long as I don't like when there's lying involved.
Oh no! See, that's a misconception. Okay, well, we probably should get too much into it because this is a whole other topic. But I'll say really quick, that's actually a misconception. Real relationships like that are about total honesty. They're lying about who they're with. It's not a real open relationship.
Well, no, an open relationship. If it is that, then that's a whole different thing. But I don't like when there's when someone pretends to be a different kind of person, when they maybe want an open relationship, but they just go and cheat on someone,
Well, that's what I mean. I know a lot of people who are like who try to pretend. I've heard stories where someone's like, "Oh, I'm in that kind of relationship." "Oh, really? Can I meet your wife?" "No."
Oh.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they try, but that's neither here nor there. So now I think it's a good time to talk about listen to everyone's favorite part of the show, where you don't hear my voice for a good few minutes. That's right. It's time for Kristen Lucap.
So the crime this week was the murder of Stephen Horwitz, and there are some small clues up front. Well, we don't know at first that he'd been murdered, but he had been fired from work. He hadn't been there in 6 months. His wife didn't know that. And then he has a woman answering his phone, and she gets paid in cash. And the first big clue is that one of the envelopes has a stain that tastes like Salvadoran horchata. And so this leads them to an area with Salvadoran food, and it basically leads them to Stephen's car and SMH, which is the name of his new business. And then in there's evidence that he was murdered, including the brain matter. Okay, but the next clue, there's a dust pattern showing that there's a missing rug, so they know that he was probably wrapped in his body. And then they find that he was harassing people as a debt collector, so many people had a reason to kill him. But then they find that he was forgiving the debt and murdered right before he could forgive the debt. So then the next clue was that Stephen first had focused on Owen, who owed less than the others and lived farther away. And so the next thing is that all the property within 5 miles of Owen's house was bought by the property developer J. Stern Investments. Okay, but Stern was represented by Stephen's old law firm, Dorchester Reed. Okay, so, and that can't be a coincidence. Okay, so then the next clue, Coleman Brown from Dorchester Reed was basically best buddies with Stephen, and then they find on the Joan finds that final clue, that the image painted of Coleman Brown, and the glasses, he's wearing certain glasses in the painting, and then those are the same glasses he usually wears, but now he's wearing new glasses. So that's what leads them to the evidence that they find back at SMH, where he broke his glasses, and they have his fingerprints on them, and they're at the where Stephen was murdered. So that's how they know and can prove that he did it and put him away. Okay, that's it for the clue cap.
Alrighty. That was lovely. So, what are your final thoughts on this episode?
It was kind of weak. It was okay. There was a little bit of mystery. I mean, but usually for this amount of mystery, we get really good character development. There wasn't much of that at all.
Because it was
there was the whole thing at the very end
after Kitty,
but
it was
so-so. It was okay.
I liked it. It was good. Had some deductions, that led to the solving of the mystery. So overall, does it have high rewatch value? No, but I'd say overall this episode a good rating.
Yeah, it was okay. I wouldn't quite give it. I'd give it between, let's see, 1 to 10. I give it maybe a 6.
I could go with that. I could go 6. Maybe, 6. 6 is definitely. I definitely like it. But again, maybe. But overall, I'll give it a decent rating.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to touch upon, Kristen?
I don't think so.
Alrighty, well, we'll see you all next week on the Baker Street Podcast. But for now, the game is afoot.